So, Rosie, I'm so excited. I'm kind of making sure we give everybody a few minutes to be able to jump on, start some watch parties and stuff, and all those good things. And also making sure our radio listeners are all tuned in. So, as we give them a little bit of time, introduce yourself to the people that might not know you.
My name is Judge Rosie Speedlin Gonzalez, and I preside over Bexar County Court at law number 13, and that is one of two misdemeanor level courts in Bexar County that hear almost exclusively domestic violence cases in which one individual has been accused of. He's innocent until proven guilty, but the allegations have been made of some sort of behavior that constitutes, by legal definition, an assault bodily injury.
Gotcha. Okay. There's so many courts, Rosie.
There's 15 county courts at law, plus 2 probate courts, plus all the district courts on the civil side and then on the criminal side.
Right.
Plus you have sub courts. I don't want to say sub courts, but courts in which associate judges preside, like the CPS courts and the child support courts. And then you got the municipal courts, traffic tickets and Class C type of,
and obviously
citations.
There's a ton of people in the world that are always they're always getting in trouble. So we need lots of courts. Because you have one specific thing, and it's not like you got slow days.
Exactly. Our community is hurting right now.
Yeah.
And we've got record numbers of cases coming through pertaining to domestic violence. You see it every day on the news.
So you know what's crazy though? I think we talk a little less about domestic violence now than we used to. Do you think between social media and TV and YouTube and all these things that we're numb to it?
It's funny that you say that, because a lot of the community conversations that I have heard and listened to our residents and constituents talks about maybe, and we talk about this disparity in cultures. For the Hispanic culture, it isn't spoken about because that's their business. Stay out of their business. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is with the African American community.
Pretty much that.
Okay.
And what happens in our home stays in our home. That's their business. Let them do it.
And so we're trying to bring the conversation to the forefront. Yeah. Because, when you shine light on it, what did Martin Luther King say, right? So you got to shine a light on the truth. And that starts to build our progress in addressing whatever it is that's in the darkness. Yeah. And this domestic violence has been kept in the dark for way too long. Yeah. And the issue keeps growing. And
it hasn't gone anywhere.
It hasn't.
And it's been around the whole time, women, period. And I know domestic violence is both men and women, right?
Correct.
Do you have a lot of court cases where men are being abused?
We've had our share, but by far not even close to half.
I don't want to always put it on the men. I want to be able to say that we are very aware that there's men that get abused as well.
You are correct.
So we're very aware of that. But going back to my ladies, obviously we work large numbers, and for a very long time, and I feel like even for different reasons. You know what I'm saying? Because there's certain times in life that I'm just gonna put out, like, I'm thinking about R&B music, right?
Okay.
So when I finally watched Ray and all of the old school singers movies, they were all beating on their women. Temptations, whatever it was, right? Tina Turner, they were all beating on their women. When we talk about that in conversation, it's always, I'm gonna say the excuse is that was the time. That was how it was. I don't know if that's an excuse, Rosie. But that's what I get, Oh, that's how it was, and, men were going through so much and doing this, and they took it out on their women, and okay, so it was almost like that's just the time. And now when we go into
kind of a sense that it was normalized, or
yes,
you should expect that.
We should, don't be so surprised.
Don't be so sensitive.
Don't be so sensitive. That's what happened, But a lot of women, if we think about our grandmothers and our great grandmothers and stuff, people who were abused that stayed in the home because that's what we were supposed to do. You stay in the home, you take care of the kids.
Stand by your man.
You stand by your man, no matter what. So mama knew he was out creeping. She got whooped once a month. Still cooked breakfast and everything for the babies and kept it going, you know?
Right.
So I feel like even now in these times, there's so many things that deal with women, right? So we got sex trafficking now and all that other stuff going on. It's kind of the same type of mentality of, don't be so sensitive. That's how I feel.
You're
like.
a woman, expect it, kind of thing.
Yeah, like this.
And so that's what
they
we're
need
talking
y'all
about the cultural approach to it. So there's been a lot of conversation about there has to be a paradigm shift. There has to be a culture shift in how we teach our youngest children as they're coming into being their own, how to communicate with each other, how to problem solve, and not lash out, and not go to that anger or that violence. What we are learning is that children that go through adverse childhood experiences, children that go through trauma, tend to develop those maladaptive behaviors such as anxiety and depression, aggression.
That leads to other stuff as you
That
get
leads
older.
to self-soothing behavior, as in substance abuse, and you start to layer that on top of each other, and you have people behaving outside the norm, the acceptable norm. They get aggressive and violent, whether it's physically aggressive, or they use a firearm, or they become emotionally abusive of their partner or their family members, because under the law, domestic violence can be someone that you're romantically engaged with, were briefly, or in the not so far off future engaged with romantically, or someone in your home that you live with. Like this tragedy we saw 2 or 3 weeks ago, where this 20-something-year-old man who was an introvert and was only seen outside of his home a couple of times in a few years, killed his parents and his grandmother, and then killed himself and set the house on fire. Yeah. What a tragedy, what a loss. How many people's lives were affected by that? You know? So you have the different types.
Where was the signs, the red flags? Where did it start? What's the core at?
And Nika, I believe people knew. But the cultural expectation is keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Don't shame the family. Don't let people know we're having problems. We'll take care of it in-house within the family. We don't need to have police over here.
Yes, I agree.
So
I agree. And I think that's a lot when we see a lot of the things, even the tragedies in the schools and stuff like that. When you look back, everybody says, oh yeah, you know, well, he used to kill cats when he was 4. That was a sign.
Yes.
That he needed some help, you know, and different things. And so I feel like we need to be more proactive.
Right.
All the way across the board with everything, you know?
Yes.
But especially when we're dealing with stuff in our home. And I think that we do need to get out of that, don't let anybody else know. Because I guarantee it's probably...
Or mind your own business.
Well, yeah, because something's going on next door, too.
Sure.
And next door, too, and next door, too. Like, everybody's household's got something.
Sure.
You know? And if you've ever been in that position where in an abusive relationship and you're literally like fearing for your life and I'm screaming and I'm yelling, oh, but nobody's gonna come to my rescue because, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like,
I mean, we had a case where the
sucks.
woman testified that she got to the driveway and was assaulted by the sister-in-law, but then went door to door knocking in the early morning hours, 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30, and no one would answer the door to her. And she's bleeding because she got beat to a pulp. And she's going door to door to door. So that happens.
Yeah, and I think that we need to be more proactive, and I think that we need to be more sensitive and to other people's stuff. Realize it could be you at any time. It could be your daughter at any time. And then when that happens, you're gonna have a whole new attitude about this.
Sure.
You're gonna be on YouTube talking about, we need to come together. We should have came together last week, and maybe we could have saved your daughter. Is what I be saying. Like, don't wait until it's at your front door. If you see it, let's do something so it doesn't come to your front door.
And we can do something
and
about
we can.
it. We're in the midst of several things. Since I saw you last, Nika, Governor Abbott signed House Bill 3529 into law. That opens up a pathway to establish a specialty court within our domestic violence court. Okay. And we're going to look at hopefully providing some substance abuse treatment, serious treatment, trauma therapy, moral recognition therapy, maybe even folding in some neurofeedback therapy. All these non-traditional, thinking outside of the box approaches to deterring domestic violence, by looking at the perpetrator and the behavior of the perpetrator, getting to the root cause of what causes them to be aggressive, and trying to put a stop measure into that.
Yeah.
Because right now, you know, we have services for victims, but we're running out of resources every year to fund those services for victims and survivors. Look, tell me, Nika, how many prisons have actually, the building of more and more prisons, how has that stopped the growth of the crime?
It doesn't.
My point is, the providing of services to survivors and victims is an after the fact measure. We need to start looking at how we can stop and mold a different type of behavior from the traditional perpetrators and aggressors. And it's only then that we can start to shape how our future generations are going to be acting toward one another.
Right.
And so that's what this court does. Now, we have all these services around our community that is like a loose fabric. They're somewhat interconnected. They communicate on a not so regular basis. We have Dr. Bridger and Judge Monique Diaz and Judge Peter Sakai spearheading this new commission on the prevention of domestic violence in our community. They're bringing all of these loose ties together, and they're tightening up that fabric to make it a stronger coalition to look at where are we falling down on this?
Right.
Where can we improve? And where can we fund these measures to create a safer community for all of us and bring down domestic violence?
Yeah, I like it a lot, and I'm with you because we were talking about before. You were like, okay, we can take a situation. Now, mind you, we're talking about domestic violence, and one of the things that you're trying to do is say, let's put in some resources. Let's look at the fact that drugs are a lot of times intertwined with domestic violence.
Correct.
So let's start curing some of these issues so that we can really get to the core of the problem and stop it.
Sure.
Right? And stop creating smaller entities, because when you have kids, if you're literally mom, dads, if you are in the home and you are getting beat and your kids are watching, you are teaching them something. Whether it's to get beat or to beat.
And the data shows that if children are exposed to either just by viscerally watching or actually engaged in the domestic violence in the home, their brain chemistry changes.
Absolutely.
Their cortisol levels rise. They develop lifelong health issues, diabetes, anxiety, depression, self-mutilation. And so that's what we're trying to nip in the bud.
Yeah.
You know?
And you said that too. You were like, okay, if this happens, then we know that we can. Okay, you might be on this substance. Let's get you this help right here. Let's get you to this part right here. We know we need to get you to this here, so then we can work that around, and now we can work on this family.
Correct.
But if we don't fix this drug problem, we're never going to fix this.
We're never going to have people cognitively and emotionally prepared to
even
change
learn.
and heal,
Yeah.
because they're going to be polluted.
Yeah.
And so we got to clean that out, and we got to get them sober. On another level, at the courthouse, Lucia down the clerk and I, the county clerk, and myself and my clerks at her IT department were able to develop what we call flash codes. These codes are clerks used by the county clerks when they input information on each of these files, each of these cases. When the judges dole out a sentence, they mark up the file and make notations on what these defendants have to do and what kind of rulings were issued. There's two rulings in our misdemeanor domestic violence courts. There's those for deferred adjudication and those in which the defendant was placed on straight probation for a guilty plea, a guilty verdict, things of that nature.
Right.
So if it's deferred adjudication, we can order a no firearm possession, purchase, ownership, or use. Okay? You can't have any firearms while under supervision. If it's a straight probation for a guilty plea or a guilty verdict, then it's an affirmative finding of family violence and court issues. And that's a lifetime bar against you being able to purchase, possess, own, or use a firearm. So these two we developed numerical codes for that go into the database. And now that they're input, when you get to a certain identifier page on this county system, it'll flash in red light and red letters, no firearms. which signals to anybody that's able to access the county system, like the district court judges, the county, all other judges can look up someone and say, does this person have an adverse finding against them when it comes to weapons as a result of domestic violence?
Wow.
It helps the civil district court judges when they're having to make decisions and create orders pertaining to divorces in which domestic violence is alleged, child custody matters in which domestic violence is alleged, because they can now give that fact some weight in their decision as to who gets what type of access, who gets custody, who can be held at fault, things of that
All of
nature.
those things. And then try to be as accurate as possible.
Correct.
With the timeline.
Yes.
At the end of the day, because when you try to get the story from any party, you got their side, her side, and the truth.
There you go. No,
So
you're
at the
right.
end of the day, if we can keep data on stuff as it goes along, it helps every party.
I agree. The more information you have, the better to make decisions.
for sure. So we're working on this, and I know you're working hard. You've gotten steps to move towards that area, getting the coalition together, tighten everything up. What's the next step?
Right now, Stacy and I are still in the middle of trying to secure funding for the drug court.
Okay.
I have met with every single county commissioner and Judge Wolf. They're on board. Judge Wolf has already committed $100,000 toward our $1 million 2-year budget. If we could get to $500,000 to get us off the ground for the first year, we're ready to go. I've talked to other commissioners who are looking into what's available to increase that amount from the county. I've talked to everyone over at City Hall with the exception of a city councilwoman and a city councilman. They're on the calendar. I'm going to be speaking to them. Mm-hmm. Everyone is on board. With the city, I still think that they're not too sure how they can help, but they're going to find a way to help. Right. This is a problem that involves city residents and county residents. It is. I think it's best that both entities
come together
and figure out how we can fund this type of court that's very much needed. When I talk to people about this specialty court in domestic violence court, they're like, makes so much sense.
Right.
Why hasn't this been done before? And the truth of the matter is, I'm working with violent offenders, and monies for violent offenders are few and far between.
Yeah.
So
because it seems like an investment into somebody who's put harm on our community.
You think?
We're going to invest in them? What do you mean? But yeah, because if we can actually invest in the people that are putting harm in our community and fix the core of why they do the, we'll have less harm.
There you go. But
I'm just saying, at the end of the day, we got to start fixing the problem and stop band-aiding it.
I agree. That's 100% accurate right there, Ms. Nika.
So at the end of the day, I'm with you. But someone asked me yesterday, they said, Nika, you ever heard about the mayor's curtains? And I said, the mayor's curtains? What is she talking about? They spent $18,000 on some curtains. I said, well, I'm going to tell you like this. I'm pretty sure there was a budget.
There was a budget for curtains.
There was a budget. It was either for office decoration, it was for upgrades, it was for something.
Right.
When you're dealing with federal money, when you're dealing with money that comes into the community, everything is budgeted. You know, right?
Yes.
You have to go and you have to put documents.
Well, we have to be accountable.
You have to be accountable of what you're going to do.
Yes.
And it's our money, right? Taxpayer money, stuff like that. So they have to be accountable, and it has to be seen. It's to be public record, right? So
and that's a perfect commercial for get civically involved. And so when you're civically involved, you go and you're proactive, and you look and you review the budgets that are posted online, and you go to city hall meetings, and you ask to be heard at the podium, and you have individuals that are that committed to their civic duty.
Yeah, and even if if you question something, do just a little bit more research, right? Just don't automatically assume, oh my God, the mayor spent $18,000 of our money on curtains.
And we have our detractors on the specialty court. There's one woman in particular that will constantly post that these courts are illegal, that people are being forced to do things that the court has no authority to order them to do, when in fact, everyone that will be participating in these drug courts are given an option. You can either do drug court, or you can continue to live in the criminal justice system.
Right.
Where's that gotten you?
Yeah.
And so they're given a choice. They don't have to do drug
I think
court.
most people are given a choice. I mean, I even think criminals are given a choice.
Sure.
At the end of the day.
Sure.
You know.
And so, do I engage with someone that lacks the information and doesn't want more information? Or do I just let that person, kind of live in their own bubble? And for me, it's a lot more important to promote the positive things that this court can do than to get into a tit for tat with someone that's a social media person,
And that probably hasn't gone to a courthouse in years, if ever. And I guess that's the point too. You gotta be a little bit more involved, right?
Correct.
So even when the lady said that, my first thought was, well, look, there's a budget for everything. So, and then my second thought was, and then I'm just putting this out there because I want people to think a little bit further. What's the electricity bill? You know how many windows I got up in here?
The infrastructure.
It's hot up here, and the main reason why it's hot is because I don't have good curtains. So my electricity bill is like $1,500 a month. But if I would invest in some better curtains,
like $18,000 curtains,
maybe not that. But if I would, I might not have an electricity bill at all. We owe you money. But you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
You have to think about something, a bigger picture of things than just being like, oh my gosh. And a lot of times we do that because we're automatically negative. And we're automatically trying to find a negative thing about it.
Right?
Suspicious. What's her motive behind that? Why does she want to do
There's
that?
got to be a conspiracy.
There's got to be. Is there a chick? Follow the money, right?
There you go.
So at the end of the day, when you hear these new ideas and these things that are saying, this is something that we want to implement, give it a chance. Research it a little bit. See how long the other thing hasn't worked.
Yeah.
Like, are we going to keep doing this for 35 years and we've had 35 years of non-success? Can't we change it and not be afraid to try something new if something hasn't been working? So when you hear these new ideas, like again, because one of the main things is we got to get some funding. Who's out there willing to sponsor? Who's a big corporation that says, man, I want to get to the core of the problem.
Sure.
And I would love to be a sponsor of this program, knowing that if someone's in this issue, they can actually get some real help.
So that's going to be our next phase after September. Once the budgetary process is done and we know if we're getting any money from this entity or that entity from the governmental levels, now we'll know where we stand, and now we go to the next phase, which is reaching out to grant funders who we qualify for funds from, and private sector foundations to see if anyone is willing to invest.
Invest. And invest in the community.
Correct.
Invest in the future. Invest in the kids. Like, think of it like that. Don't think of invest in Rosie's little project.
No, it's not mine.
It's not.
It's a community. It's a community project.
And that's what I want to put out there. They want to put any information, they want to read about it, they need to look it up, they want to call you.
There's our Facebook page for the court has information. I daily put up news stories, whether it's about another assault, or it's about the commission, or it's about something we're doing in the court, or our numbers. You're going to see posts. Go to our Facebook, Judge Rosie Speedlin Gonzalez page, and they can see there. It includes even verdicts from trials.
Oh, wow.
So they just need to just kind of scroll around and they'll find it.
All
Information on the drug
information.
court. All of it's public information. No one gets blocked.
And you'll even see when Mary
So that's where the information can be gathered. And if you're one of these people that wants to see how drug courts can change people's lives, I can tell you, Judge Yolanda Huff tomorrow is going to be having a picnic for her mental health program at Comanche Park.
Yes.
She'll be there from 10:30 to 2, something to that effect. And the community's invited to come out and see what it's about.
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon, I'm going to be feeding the homeless with the church over here by UTSA under the Interstate 35 bridge. Come take care of your brother and sister who have much less than you do. All they need is help from people to feed the homeless.
Yeah. And Rosie's real good at that because she feeds me often. I'm just saying, good stuff, Rosie. And do you think that judges in general, do you think there's like a new, because I think there's the new politician, right? I mean, we got Trump in office right now, so obviously he's not the old school politician that we're used to. But do you think there's a change in our leaders in the community, and that they're a little bit more community? Because back in the day, I don't remember seeing no judges feeding the homeless.
I think what I will say is that the change has come in who is in leadership. The people that were elected in my class have always been the givers, have always been the workers, have always been the innovators, have always been the forward thinkers. And I'm very proud to have been elected with every single new judge in Bexar County that took the bench. We've got some great judges that were part of the old guard, Judge Stolhansky, who actually presides over 2 drug courts, the DWI drug court and the straight out adult misdemeanor drug court. And so we have a great class of judges. We have judges that care very much about the community that we live in, that want, whenever our time is up, to leave the bench knowing that we left the bench in a community that was much better off because we were on the bench than when we were off the bench.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love it. And I do, I feel like I have so many judge friends now. And I used to, as you get older, you know better, you do better, okay? So I used to have a rule that you have to know, you always need to know the chef, wherever you're at.
The chef.
The chef, right? Well, really the janitor and the chef.
And now?
Because the janitor always got the keys to everything, and the chef gonna keep you.
And now you added one more person.
Well, no. So then I was like, you have to know the police. You know what I'm saying? Because they play over, you be like, man, what's up? Now I know, you got to know the judges. You got to know the judges. Because the judges be like, take your ass to jail. Or no, or go to. But this is real when you're voting though. When you go and you look at judges, you need to look at their past reports of what they do. If you see a judge and you say, okay, they're in this particular court or situation, in every situation when a young man who's 18 years old that gets in trouble comes in, they all end up getting locked up. Nobody gets probation or something like that. You know what I'm saying? You gotta look at that so you can see where the judges are and stuff. You want a judge that can say, I'm gonna take each case individually. I'm not gonna just, oh, he's a black boy, I know he's guilty, automatically in their head. People are human. So you can't just say that people don't do that. We fight this stuff all the time with the cops and dirty cops and all this kind of stuff. So look at people's track records. Look at what they do in the community. I can guarantee you, if the judge is out there feeding the homeless, they probably care about folks. They probably got some humanity within them. We want people with humanity in them. People with humanity are not always looking at black or color or age or gender. They're looking at the fact that you're a human being with a heartbeat and a soul. That's where we got to start. And there's people out there that have track records that ain't got no good humanity. Don't vote them back in. Get them people out there that are fair. I'm not talking about letting people off just because. I'm talking about that are fair. And to all you criminals out there, stop being a criminal. Then you don't have to worry about the judge taking your stuff away.
Never have to come to court.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's why they my best friend. I ain't no criminal. I ain't worried about it.
Crazy girl.
I ain't gonna get in trouble. So I'm trouble that way, I make it right. Rosie, there's trouble on the left. Go get him. But stay updated, guys. Stay updated. Follow Rosie. Follow the judges. Get your information together so you can always be in a good place. Because you don't want somebody to manipulate you because you don't have the right knowledge. And then you're too late. You know how many people we talked to about that? And my lawyer told me this, and that wasn't even right. Or they just made me do this, and I didn't even have to do that.
Get educated.
Get educated.
Education is the key.
It is the key. So I love you, baby. We'll see you. Ooh, well, Rosie's got her own show coming.
I don't know about my own show. We're going to be helping Nika out.
Right. Judge Rosie. Don't make me. I'll have the whole courtroom downstairs and have like the divorce court. You can't do that, can we?
No.
Judy?
Well, you know, I'm starting to think about maybe we could show some kids what court is like if they ever end up in court. We could do a mock trial.
A mock trial.
Yes, ma'am.
And send the bus to jail. No.
The mock jail.
The mock jail. Yes. So that way we scare them straight.
Well, we don't want to criminalize them. There's that in the shows. We don't want to criminalize them, you know. We got to think outside the box.
We got to think outside because they already do that.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll take them to the college.
Maybe, yeah.
You know?
Some good thoughts in their head.
And then we'll get them some mock robes.
Mock diplomas,
and mock
diplomas.
And they can be like, I'm the judge and I'm the this person instead of I'm the jail person.
That's right.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Talking about it. Tell me about it. Stay stay tuned for the, our new program.
The
coming.
Run Mock.
Yeah, the Run Mock coming to the courthouse near you. All right, we love you guys. We're going to get out of here. Share, share, share. Okay, I put these on new pages because we have new things going on, but I'm going to go back and do a watch party for all my folks, and you guys go do a watch party because this is good information that you need to know about and grow with us. Okay, we love you guys so very much. We'll see you next time.
Peace out.